What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. This is episode number 15. We start today's episode off with Real Madrid confirming Wayne Rooney talks there, so who knows, maybe he will get his move away from Old Trafford after all, albeit in the game, and he may be off to the Spanish capital. And yeah, you saw in the last episode as well, we had to sell John Ruddy. The board said we had to sell him. We got about 3.5 million for him, and we need to replace him basically. Right now we've got Mark Bunn and Carlo Nash, and to be honest, Mark Bunn's okay. 70 rated. Carlo Nash is not, he's about 61 rated. So we need a new goalkeeper, and the first person I was looking for there is Fraser Forster, the Celtic goalkeeper, of course, formerly of Newcastle, and also spent a season on loan at Norwich, funnily enough. So maybe we get Forster back to Carrow Road, who knows, that'll be really good. He's a very tall 6'7" goalkeeper, so Fraser Forster coming to Norwich would be a good signing for us. I really rate Forster. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, and should be given a chance for England, especially when Hart's a little bit shaky. But anyway, we take on Manchester City for the first game, and like I said, we had no first choice goalkeeper really, so Mark Bunn had to come in, and well, he got very lucky here as the ball somehow managed to hit the post and get cleared off the line there. So almost an opening goal for Manchester City in the first 10 minutes, but unfortunately for us, well, there wasn't much you could do about this. James Milner scores, and at first I thought, oh my goodness, Mark Bunn, seriously, how on earth can you let that go through your hands, and how can that ball go into the back of the net? That's a terrible way to introduce yourself. But on the replay, as you'll see here, as James Milner takes a strike, it deflects off Sebastian Basong, and that's a really unlucky goal to concede. So can't really fault Mark Bunn for that, starting here for only the second game this season, and if he's going to stake a claim for that number 1 jersey, he's got to do better than that. But couldn't really fault him for that one. But he's seen Negredo find Nasri, and unfortunately my defence just completely got split through the centre, and the Frenchman, the former Arsenal playmaker Nasri, makes it 2-0 to City. So it looks like it was going to be a cold and disappointing January afternoon for many of the fans that came to Carrow Road. But in the 36 minutes, some nice football here. Releases Robert Snodgrass, and Nathan Redmond then collects the ball, crosses the ball in towards Billy Sharp. It's headed up in the air, and Van Volswinkel tries the acrobatic kick, but unfortunately Joe Hart is there to make the save. So still 2-0, but a few minutes after that, Benzema picks the ball up here and takes aim from range, just puts the ball wide. So City really were in the mood. They beat us 2-1 at the Etihad, and they were looking for more goals here. And in the 54th minute, they almost got another one. Milner's shot, this time well saved by Mark Bunn. So he did get a good save there to warm his hands up a little bit after a disappointing first half from him. But still 2-0. But in the 65th minute, Ricky Van Volswinkel came through. Nice ball through by Billy Sharp, and the striker, the number 9, beats Joe Hart at his near post and smashes the ball in. So we were back in the game with about 24 minutes to go, so that was good news for us. But to be honest, that was our first chance of the game really, or one of our first chances, and we weren't feeling very confident. And he see Yaya Toure get a good chance in, but unfortunately his shot was terrible. So still 2-1, but we needed to take our chances. We didn't have too many. In the 84th minute we had one here. Joe Hart palms this cross up in the air. It comes to Olsen, cross to the ball in. There's Gary Hooper at the far end of the box, and it's a terrible header back inside. No striker was really looking to get on the end of that ball through, and unfortunately it was a simple claim for Joe Hart. We really didn't threaten Man City. Their defence was fantastic, and in the 88th minute, John Guidetti, who came off the bench, smashed the ball into the bottom corner. Again, you can't really blame Mark Bunn for that, and unfortunately the game ended up finishing 3-1. So a disappointing loss. We've now been beaten back to back by Man City. Of course, in the reverse fixture at the Etihad, they won 2-1, and in this one they beat us by 3-1. So our defence needs some working, and of course, Mark Bunn not really covering himself in too much glory, but even so, I don't think he could have done too much about any of the goals. But anyway, we get a transfer for Garrido here. Haven't really been using him too much. Luke Shaw's our number 1 left back now, and Olsen is our reserve left back. We asked for 1 million. That's 100 grand less than his valuation. That's only a couple hundred, or even 125 grand. I think it is more than Southampton offered. And Celtic said they wanted 4.6 million for Fraser Forster, and I was like, Neil Lennon, come on mate, we're skint down at Carrow Road, come on, can't you cut us a bit of a deal? But unfortunately we can't afford 4.6 million pounds, so we decided to offer for 3.6 million pounds, and see what Neil Lennon says, because that's not that bad of a deal for Forster, to be honest. But even so, we'll have to wait and see. And also we got Mark Bunn coming to us here and say, boss, I think I'll make a great replacement for Ruddy's vacant position. I hope you'll give me a chance. And I was like, I just gave you a chance. You let 3 goals in, mate. Seriously, that's not a way to show that you're good enough. But either way, I decided that if we can't get hold of Fraser Forster, we're going for this guy, Jack Butland. I'm sure you all know who Butland is. He's a very young, promising goalkeeper. Signed to Stoke from Birmingham not too long ago, and he's a very talented young man. He's only 20 years old, and could be a bright young goalkeeper for England in the near future, but hasn't really been getting his chances at Stoke. He's just gone on loan to Barnsley in real life, and hasn't really been getting his chances at Stoke. Begovic is the #1 keeper there, so there's no real surprise he hasn't been given chances. But even so, I thought, maybe if that career move isn't working out, he can quickly swift over to Carrow Road, where he'll be #1. So hopefully we can get hold of Butland or Forster. I'm not really that bothered. I'd imagine that Butland's got better potential, but I'd imagine that Forster's got a better overall. So either one should be fine for me, really. I think I'll just go with whoever's cheapest and available. But anyway, we take on Spurs for the second leg of the Capital One Cup semi-final. And of course, in the first leg, we won by 2-1. Ricky van Wolfswinkel, the Dutch striker, scoring twice, 2 headers, and one of them coming in the 89th minute. So I was thinking, maybe we can go ahead and just look for a clean sheet in this game. Maybe just play out a 0-0, play possession football, and possibly hit Spurs on the counter-attack. But to be honest, I was thinking, I do want to win the game. I don't want to just get a clean sheet, boring 0-0 draw, and go through to the final. That's boring. I want to actually go and dominate Spurs in both legs and show that we're good enough to win this trophy, and of course play in the Europa League next year. So taking on Spurs, who had Gomez in goal. Could you believe that? That's been a while, but Gomez starting in goal for Spurs here. AVB puts out a really strong side, no real surprise there, and I was feeling confident. Of course, winning the first leg at White Hart Lane by 2-1, I was feeling confident, but I knew with no permanent goalkeeper, we'd have to be on our game defensively, and luckily for us, Spurs almost scored here, but the ball ended up getting hit off the post, and we managed to clear the ball away. So Spurs almost taking the lead in the 18th minute. We didn't really clear the ball very well. Spurs played a quick throw in here from Christian Eriksen. Plays it back to Danny Rose, the left back. Rose plays it into Paulinho, the Brazilian. Paulinho plays it through to Jermaine Defoe, and he hits the post as well. So twice the woodwork gets struck, and Mark Barner was sitting there thanking the gods for that one. So still 0-0. In the 22nd minute, we had our first chance of the game. Gary Hooper coming through, but the former Celtic striker could only hit the bar from his header. And in the 31st minute, Paulinho found space. Great block by Michael Turner, I think it was. We didn't really do a good job of clearing the ball. It came to Christian Eriksen. He found Kyle Walker, plays the ball out wide to Chadley. Chadley crosses the ball in, free header for Eriksen, and unfortunately Spurs went 1-0 up, but luckily for us, the assistant on the far side flagged for offside, and he was right to do so. A very tight call there, but thankfully the assistant did go to Specsavers and did get that call right. So still 0-0 as we were approaching half time here, but Spurs once again, who really were dominating in the first half, picked the ball up. Aaron Lennon bursts through the middle, plays it through. Here's Danny Rose, the left back, through on goal. Brilliant save by Mark Bunn, making up for that relatively subpar performance against Manchester City, and the score was still 0-0. And straight from kickoff in the second half, we win the ball here. Nathan Redmond comes down the left hand side. The young pacey winger plays it through to Gary Hooper. What a back heel that was to Nathan Redmond. Brilliant exchange of passes, but unfortunately Redmond's shot was well saved by Gomez as he tips the ball onto the post. So still 0-0. Very, very encouraging signs there. Really good teamwork from Redmond and Hooper. But a few minutes after that, we picked the ball up and we were playing much better in the second half than we were in the first half. Elmander releases to Andros Townsend down the right hand side. He takes aim with his right foot, but Gomez makes an easy save at his near post. So still 0-0. In the 69th minute, Spurs came through. Sandro finds Defoe there. First chance of the second half, and Defoe completely wastes it. It's a really poor attempt and it goes wide. But in the 84th minute, Spurs had to score if they were going to have any chance of getting back into the game, and they did. Harry Kane gets the goal, but unfortunately for Spurs, but fortunately for us, that was the last piece of action. We go through on the away goal ruling. Of course, we scored 2 at White Hart Lane. Spurs only scored 1 here at Carrow Road. So aggregate full-time score after 180 minutes is 2-2, but we go through on the away goal ruling. We're through to Wembley at the Capital One Cup final. We'll be taking on Manchester City. Look forward to that. That's going to be a live comment. That's going to be fantastic. And as always, guys, a big thank you for watching today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, and I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Career Mode.